Hello and welcome to the BG podcast. My name is A.J. Bingham, CEO and founder of Bingham Group, and joining me is associate Hannah Garcia.
Hello, everybody.
And this is episode 242. We'll be discussing a little bit of the week of March 18th in Austin politics and also what's going on for the week ahead. But Hannah, let's start with last week. I know council met. You want to highlight any items that came up that caught your attention?
Yeah, so I think there was three big things that happened last week. Related to childcare, council authorized some funding for several groups that offer childcare and childcare services and work in the early childhood education sector. And so they authorized probably I'm estimating about a little over $2 million
Mm-hmm.
to six agencies, and so that'll be great for the community just to receive that childcare funding. Additionally, related to I-35, which I think everybody uh, cares about or has some investment in, because it's one of the major thoroughways in the city. The city manager was directed by council to ask for about $193 million from the state to help cover that funding for cap and stitch. And if you don't know what cap and stitch is, that is essentially the TxDOT wants to lower I-35. And so the
Mm-hmm.
cap and stitch would be reconnecting kind of downtown and East Austin. And it'd be like a park. You'd be able to put more real estate on it, potentially residential, for sure, commercial. And so it would be a great thing for the city just to reconnect East and West.
For those who want a visual, up in Dallas, there's a park called Clyde Warren Park, Clyde with a C, Warren with a W Park, and it's a similar it's a smaller, that's a smaller project, but it'd be the similar concept where I forgot what highway that is. They lowered it, put a cap on it, and there's a park over, Clyde Warren Park, hence the name, that bridges the highway, and so. Yeah, I think this has been ongoing, Hannah. I know this discussion around this has been. I mean, I think it predates the firm, our firm's existence. When I was at the last employer before I started the Bingham Group, that was one of the major drivers actually that then Senator Watson was pushing for. And again, the issue came down to money.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who's going to pay for it? TxDOT, they're not going to pay for the cap.
Yeah.
Right. This is something I think, it's being talked about now. The thing with Clyde Warren, that was heavily, the private sector, business community in Dallas was heavily involved in funding that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see how we'd have to have a similar thing here in some degree.
Yeah, and they got into it a little bit on Tuesday's work session, kind of the funding, debt, and all that good finance terms that I'm not an expert in, but I definitely recommend watching that if you want to know more about that. But the staff from finance presented several options for how we could get that funded, including applying for a whole lot of money in grants.
In the federal
So
government.
federal and state. So
Hmm.
over the course of probably the next 2 months, I think we'll see more applications for grants, among other things, on the agenda. But we've gotten some grants to fund this. I think the biggest one was the one from the Secretary of State, the Reconnecting Communities grant, which
Hmm.
will help fund this. And yeah, I think this could be potentially a great thing, just that having a park instead of, or even just a more downtown to connect
Like
East and
greenway or
West.
something.
Yeah, I think that that's going to be something that is great. And also increasing the amount of real estate that we have downtown. So excited to see how this pans out. It could change very quickly. I know that inflation, among other things, could affect this, but we shall see. Only time will tell.
I agreed. It come back to the childcare one. I think that's big. I think there's been efforts amongst council over the last year, in four through a year, nearly 4 months now, around different parts of tackling the childcare full quality childcare access, bubble or dilemma in the city, kind of parallel with the housing affordability crisis we're having. Definitely expect to see more of this from council, more tools being deployed by council going into the rest of the remainder of this year and definitely into the new year, 25, which is fast approach. It's fast approaching. We're almost in this quarter, y'all. Right? Just a side note. I don't know what I know the last 3 months have gone, but I kind of don't too. So
Yeah,
it's been flying.
it's been a whirlwind, and we're seeing more historical events happen before our eyes. This, I think our next topic is the city manager,
Yes.
and that's huge. It's a huge position to fill. I saw City Council member Vanessa Fuentes posted a great reel on Instagram this week talking about how important the city manager is. She's the first person, I think, to tackle that, um, kind of explaining that to the public. So that was really, really great to see. But yeah, they are essentially the CEO of the city. You say that all the time, and
Yeah.
it's time to pick a new one.
Y'all, again, we've been saying this since October when they started the search, or even before. I mean, probably last year actually when
As soon as the great firing happened.
yeah, the wave of change, if you will, winds of change. Um, yeah, it's this is a major role, and I think tying to what Hannah said tonight, the city is having a public town hall for the two finalists, TC Broadnax, who's currently the city manager of Dallas, and Sarah Hensley, who is the current city manager of the city of Denton. And so that town hall will be at 6 p.m. tonight at the Wilhelmina Delco, or I'm sorry, at the Permitting and Development Center on at 6310 Wilhelmina Delco Drive. We'll have a link to that in the show notes. Starts at 6 and will run till about 7:30. There'll be a moderated discussion with facilitated by Judy Maggio, a former Austin news anchor. It won't be an open discussion, so the questions were people could submit questions, the public could submit questions last week, and so it will be moderated. So this isn't an open dialogue, but it'll be instructive. Man, I do view there'll likely be trend or buckets of categories that all align. I think that kind of the common concerns for Austin. I know this morning, and this is posted in the city message count on the council message board, the two candidates are meeting with city professional staff, and then tomorrow council will meet in for a special called work session and to take up an executive session interviews with candidates. From there, sometime between then tomorrow and April 1st or the 2nd, council will notify the search firm Mosaic Partners their intent to move forward with a contract discussions with one of those candidates, and we shall go from there. But I think we're looking at a hiring potentially, depending on the negotiations can take how long it may take, but presumably doesn't take too long, more than a month, right? If they're finalists, let's look at and they're both Texas-based candidates. Not a lot in major moves that happened. Director Hensley or City Manager Hensley was formerly worked in Austin. Dallas is 3 hours away. An hour, 30 minutes away by Southwest. Not plugging any airline flight. So these are both. They're not in interstate candidates, right? Intrastate, and so basically they're both North Texas candidates, and so the move overall wouldn't be necessarily as a big of a jump. And even think of taxes and just housing and that kind of thing. So more to come on that. Yes, very exciting stuff. We'll be at the town hall tonight and covering it, taking notes, and most likely I'll be doing a late night podcast recapping that, just so I have my thoughts clear in the moment. And then Hannah and I may come back on tomorrow morning to download further. Also, last week we ran a blog post just laying out we thought were the 5 big issues we view that the city manager candidates and really whoever becomes city manager will need to address. And these are land use and affordability, public safety, homelessness, and Austin's transportation future, and then promoting equity and opportunity. And so I think the questions that will be posed most likely will fall in one of these 5 buckets. I think particularly around land use.
Yes.
I'm predicting a lot of that. Really, I mean, of these 5, I think land use, public safety, and homelessness and transportation are probably the main ones
Yeah,
there.
I was gonna say the exact same thing. I think homelessness specifically, and land use with
Mhm.
a focus on density. I think
Mhm.
we're going to see some audience submitted questions about density and how that will be handled in the future and how protest rights will be handled all along the lawsuit that was previously filed related to protest rights. So I think that'll definitely be something, as well as I'm predicting. I don't know if this will actually happen just because it is a controversial question. I'm thinking that they'll be asked if they are, a proponent or opponent of a new land development code,
Hmm.
uh, which could do a lot of great things for the city potentially, and also a lot of bad things. There's that's to rewrite the land development code is to open up a can of worms, and so that's that's a huge task. And so I think we'll get to see, what a little bit more about these candidates tonight and where they fall in that spectrum. And I think that'll be a really, really good indicator as to how uh, who their supporters will be and who their opponents will be.
Hmm. I mean, just gauging or reviewing our current council's last year or year and again 3 months of production around um, resolutions and ordinances. There's a strong core of council members that are moving forward with, it's piecemeal, but they are doing things around the land development code. I think they're definitely learning lessons from the prior years of council, how they operate and how they present to the public. But think there's movement there. I
Mhm.
think a city manager comes in. I mean, ultimately, the city manager is there to run the city. The council sets policy and directs policy, and or establishes policy. The city manager then enacts. But I mean, ideally, there needs to be a strong alignment. There's a church and state thing, but there's even a strong alignment between the two because we see, I mean, this is reported, right? That doesn't exist currently with the city of Dallas with the current mayor Eric Johnson and Mr. Broadnax.
Mhm.
One of the reasons he's leaving, right? And this has been written about, in the Dallas press on several news outlets, but that ideally, I serve on nonprofits. You're working on some too, Hannah, on boards, and you need. I mean, it goes a long way to have alignment. Not necessarily everything we don't is always an agreement, right? But alignment and just a productive relationship can go a long
Yeah,
way, particularly when these are the roles that the degree of the relationship impacts all of us directly, right? That's every city service,
yeah.
right? So I personally just, I'm not biased as an Austinite who lives in the city would love to see a productive relationship between whoever is the city manager and our council.
Yeah, it'll definitely help. It's like the we need a well-oiled machine, and the only way that's going to happen is if the gears connect.
Well put, man.
Thank you,
We got
thank
some
you.
coffee already. And then Hannah, I like this too. The importance of this, I think, beyond having permanent leadership at the top, you've been doing a great job the last, again, year and 3 months of tracking all the changes that have happened on the city staff side in terms of role, departments being shifted and just people being either retiring or moving up on the org chart. So but overall, right, we have a lot of roles that are I mean, even with the interim tag removed from them, there's a lot of new movement that's happened under the current interim city manager.
Yeah, yeah. On our org chart, we have all of the appointees color coded, and the red are the interim, purple is the formerly interim and have now been appointed as the permanent. And the black names are the ones that have not been changed. And you'll notice that there's like two or three black names right now. And so the rest are all either interim or now former interim permanent appointees. And so there's definitely been a lot of change. I'm really curious to see if we'll continue that. I think, one of the big things our city needs right now is continuity. And I'm just very curious to see how this will all play out because typically when a new city manager comes in, there is more changes just as the nature of this industry.
Mm-hmm. Given the amount of and given the amount of change we've had in the last year and a half, I don't think it'll be as drastic whoever's
Mhm.
ultimately selected as it was as we've seen previous. Because I don't think we don't. It wouldn't be productive for the city to have that much change occurring, within 2 years of that happening, right? I
Yeah, yeah.
I think it'll be. I mean, I think it'll be. And I think the caveat for me is particularly with Mr. Broadnax. He's is how much again because the proximity to Austin, it's not like people if they so his lieutenants, his assistant team managers and such, if they chose to move, they have to go far,
Yeah.
right? And so I think it's a matter of someone coming in obviously may want people they worked with, just as now interim city manager Garza brought in folks he worked with, right? But I think we have some key roles: the airport director, Austin Energy, the assistant city manager for public safety, the police chief. That I think whoever is in this seat again as a city manager, I think particularly the police chief search. That to me, of all the roles that would get filled right and how that process goes, would probably be one of the bigger. I could see being one of the hotter, more well, not hotter is the wrong word we're looking for here. Probably one of the more hot, kind of not contentious either, but just it will be something that I think defines early on their role, their relationship with the public. That
Yeah, and
public safety, but
I definitely think we're going to see a similar community engagement, like a meet the candidates town hall type of thing for that as well. So that will likely not happen until our new city manager is appointed, among other appointees. I just think because you want to know who your boss is going to be. So
yeah, I agree. Well, that y'all. So again, we'll be watching tonight's town hall at 6 p.m. at the Permitting and Development Center, City of Austin Permitting Development Center. Um, and we'll be reporting later this evening or by tomorrow morning on what we heard and what we saw. But again, we think the five key buckets to watch for are going to be land use and affordability, public safety, homelessness, transportation, and equity, promoting equity and opportunity. So more to come there. Y'all have a great rest of the day. Take care.
yeah. Bye, everybody.